Listen carefully. What you are about to hear is not random. It found you on purpose. There are moments in life when the heart feels uneasy for no visible reason. Nothing is openly wrong, yet something feels off. You smile, you move forward, you pray, but deep inside, a quiet tension remains. That tension is not weakness. It is awareness awakening. God says, you were never imagining it. There has been resistance around you that did not come from strangers. It did not come from enemies you could see. It came from someone close enough to know your patterns, your fears, your prayers, and your future. This is why it felt confusing. This is why it felt personal. This is why your spirit could not rest. You asked yourself questions late at night. Why does progress slow down right before breakthrough? Why does peace disappear after certain conversations? Why do you feel drained after being around someone who should support you? God says, I saw every moment you doubted yourself. You felt guilty for suspecting anything. You told yourself you were overthinking. You tried to silence the warnings inside you because you did not want to believe that harm could come from such a familiar place. But discernment is not fear. Discernment is protection. There is a reason your spirit reacted before your mind could explain it. There is a reason you started pulling back without knowing why. There is a reason certain doors felt heavy even when they looked safe. God says, what you sensed was real. The person who wants to harm you does not always use loud actions. Sometimes harm comes wrapped in smiles. Sometimes it hides behind concern. Sometimes it speaks encouragement but carries silent envy. This is not about hatred. This is about imbalance. You carry something they do not understand. You walk with a light they cannot control. And instead of healing their own wounds, they tried to interfere with your path. God says, they saw your growth before you did. They noticed the change when you were still unsure. They felt threatened by the direction your life was moving, even when you were still praying for clarity. They compared their stagnation to your progress and quietly chose resistance instead of reflection. This is why opposition appeared without explanation. This is why support felt inconsistent. This is why you felt held back in ways that never made sense. God says, I allowed you to see the signs slowly so your heart would not break all at once. Because if the truth had come suddenly, it would have wounded you deeply. Instead, I strengthened your discernment first. I taught you to trust your spirit. I prepared you to hear this without losing your peace. You are not being punished. You are being protected. The revelation is not meant to create fear. It is meant to bring freedom. You cannot guard your future if you do not understand your surroundings. God says, I am removing confusion from your heart. The person who wants to harm you is not more powerful than you. They are not controlling your destiny. They are not winning. Their influence ends where your awareness begins. This is the moment where things shift. Not because you confront them, not because you accuse them, but because you stop giving access to your spirit. God says, silence will be your strength now. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to prove anything. You do not need validation from those who secretly compete with your calling. Distance does not mean hatred. Distance means wisdom. And wisdom will protect what is coming next. Because there is something ahead that requires clarity. There is a door preparing to open that cannot carry mixed energy. There is a season approaching where only those aligned with your growth can walk beside you. God says, I am rearranging your circle for your elevation. This message is not here to frighten you. It is here to remind you that you are never alone. I have been watching every hidden intention. I have been shielding you in ways you did not notice. Even the delays served you. Even the confusion guarded you. Even the pain taught you where not to trust. And now, clarity is arriving. Take a breath. Your peace is returning. Your spirit is becoming stronger than your fear. This is only the beginning. Because once you understand who stands against you, you finally understand why God has been standing so close. Stay here. There is more that must be revealed. Stay with this moment. Because what you are about to understand will change how you see people forever. God says, not everyone who walks beside you is walking with you. Some people stay close not to protect, but to observe. They listen not to support, but to measure. They celebrate you publicly, yet question you privately. And the most surprising truth is this: they do not even realize when their heart shifts. This is why it felt so subtle. There was no clear betrayal, no open conflict, only a quiet feeling that something was being pulled from you every time you trusted too much. God says, I allowed you to feel the weight so you would learn where to place your strength. The person who wants to harm you did not wake up one day planning it. It began with comparison, then insecurity, then silent resentment. They watched you receive favor without forcing it. They saw doors open for you while they struggled to knock. They noticed your calm in moments where they felt restless. And instead of healing themselves, they questioned why you deserved peace. God says, this is where intentions changed. You wondered why conversations started feeling heavy, why your ideas were suddenly doubted, why your confidence felt challenged in subtle ways. That was not coincidence. Some people cannot stand the reflection of what they refuse to become. Your growth reminds them of what they avoided. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your faith highlights their fear. God says, envy does not always look loud. Sometimes it disguises itself as advice. Sometimes it hides inside concern. Sometimes it pretends to protect you while quietly slowing you down. This is why I taught you silence. Because explaining yourself to someone who already decided how they see you only drains your spirit. Because sharing your plans with someone who secretly resents your progress delays your momentum. God says, privacy became your shield for a reason. You may feel surprised hearing this. You may even feel emotional. Because you did not expect this truth to come from such a familiar place. But remember this, awareness is not loss. Awareness is power. Nothing was taken from you that cannot be restored. Nothing was blocked that cannot be reopened. Nothing was spoken against you that carries authority over your life. God says, their intention cannot cancel my promise. This revelation is not meant to turn you cold. It is meant to turn you wise. You are entering a season where alignment matters more than connection, where peace matters more than approval, where quality matters more than quantity. God says, I am teaching you who deserves access to your spirit. From now on, you will notice how your body responds around people. You will feel when conversations drain you. You will sense when smiles do not match energy. Do not ignore that anymore. Your spirit recognizes truth before your mind can explain it. God says, trust what you feel when words look right but peace disappears. The person who wants to harm you does not control your future. They only revealed where boundaries were missing. And boundaries are not walls. They are doors with wisdom. You are not here to fight. You are here to rise. What is meant for you cannot be stopped by quiet resistance. What is aligned with you cannot be delayed by hidden intentions. God says, I am restoring your clarity right now. You will no longer feel confused about where you stand. You will no longer feel guilty for protecting your peace. You will no longer question why distance feels lighter than closeness. Because now you understand. And understanding changes everything. Stay with this message. The next part will reveal what to do after the truth is known. Now listen even more closely. Because knowing the truth is only the beginning. What you do after the truth is revealed decides everything. God says, do not confront what I have already uncovered. This is where many people lose peace. They rush to explain. They rush to expose. They rush to defend themselves. But I did not reveal this so you could react. I revealed this so you could rise. The person who wants to harm you does not need your words. They do not need your attention. They do not need your energy. They only needed access. And access has now been removed. God says, the moment you understood, their influence weakened. This is why you suddenly feel lighter. This is why certain attachments no longer feel necessary. This is why silence feels safer than conversation. You are not withdrawing in fear. You are stepping into clarity. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop explaining yourself to people who secretly misunderstand you on purpose. When you stop sharing your next move with those who benefit from your hesitation. When you stop expecting loyalty from those still battling insecurity. God says, peace returns when boundaries are honored. You may notice something surprising in the coming days. The person you once tried to please may begin to feel distant. Their behavior may change. Their words may lose warmth. Do not be disturbed by this. People feel uncomfortable when they can no longer influence you. They react when access is gone. They reveal themselves when control is removed. God says, you are not here to manage emotions that were never your responsibility. You are here to protect what I placed inside you. This is the once, in, a, lifetime truth. Some battles are won not by confrontation, but by disengagement. Your silence will speak louder than explanation. Your focus will speak louder than defense. Your growth will speak louder than proof. God says, I am watching how you choose peace. Because there is something ahead that requires your full strength. There is a calling that cannot carry distraction. There is a blessing that responds only to alignment. This is why I separated you quietly. This is why certain relationships are fading without drama. This is why you no longer feel the urge to chase understanding. You are evolving. And not everyone can follow you into the next season. God says, do not feel guilty for outgrowing spaces that shrink your spirit. The person who wanted to harm you was never your ending. They were a lesson in discernment. They were a reminder that closeness does not equal alignment. And now, that lesson is complete. What was hidden is exposed. What was confusing is clear. What was draining is losing its hold. You are stepping into a phase where your peace becomes unshakable. Where your confidence is no longer borrowed from approval. Where your strength comes from knowing who you are and who you are not meant to be close to. God says, I am guiding you forward, not backward. Do not look back to fix what I removed. Do not reopen doors I closed gently. Do not second, guess the clarity I gave you. Trust this moment. Because the next part will reveal how your life begins to change after you fully let go. Stay here. This is where everything turns. Because once you let go completely, life begins to respond in ways you did not expect. God says, the moment you stopped carrying what was not yours, I began carrying you. You may notice small but powerful shifts. Your sleep becomes deeper. Your thoughts become quieter. Your decisions become clearer. This is not coincidence. This is alignment. When the person who wanted to harm you lost access, your spirit finally had space to breathe. What once felt heavy now feels distant. What once confused you no longer controls you. God says, this is what freedom feels like. Now hear this carefully, because this is a shocking truth most people never realize. When hidden resistance leaves your life, blessings do not arrive slowly. They arrive suddenly. Opportunities begin to appear without struggle. Conversations open doors instead of closing them. People enter your life who do not compete with you, but complement you. This is how you know the season has changed. God says, I removed interference so acceleration could begin. The person who tried to harm you is no longer relevant to your future. They were connected only to your past lessons, not your next level. And once the lesson was learned, the connection expired. You did not lose anyone important. You gained clarity. Now pause for a moment. If this message feels like it is speaking directly to your life, let it anchor deeper. Take a second and acknowledge this truth within yourself. If this message resonates with your heart, share it with someone who needs clarity right now. There are people silently struggling, questioning their intuition, doubting their feelings. This message could bring them peace. If you are feeling this deeply, let your voice be heard. Write what you felt while listening. Sometimes speaking it releases it. And if you want to continue receiving messages that protect your peace and sharpen your discernment, stay connected. What is coming next will require awareness, strength, and alignment. God says, I am not done guiding you. From this point forward, you will no longer attract confusion. You will attract truth. You will no longer entertain mixed intentions. You will recognize alignment instantly. Your spirit has matured. Your awareness has expanded. Your peace has become non-negotiable. This is the once-in-a-lifetime shift, the moment you stop asking why things felt wrong and start thanking God that He revealed it in time. Because now, the path ahead is clear, and nothing hidden can follow you where you are going. Stay present. What comes next is even stronger. Do not rush past this moment, because now you are standing at the point where awareness turns into authority. God says, when truth settles inside you, it begins to protect you automatically. You no longer chase reassurance. You no longer seek explanations. You no longer feel the need to replay old conversations in your mind. That chapter has closed. What is happening now is quiet, but powerful. Your energy is changing. Your presence feels different. People can sense that you are no longer available for confusion. God says, this is how spiritual strength looks: calm, grounded. Here is a truth few people ever hear. The person who wanted to harm you did not expect you to outgrow the situation. They expected reaction. They expected emotion. They expected engagement. But when you chose peace, everything shifted. Silence became your victory. Distance became your protection. Focus became your weapon. God says, this is why your life is about to feel lighter than it has in a long time. You may notice that things start flowing without force. Decisions feel right the first time. Opportunities align with ease. This is not luck. This is clarity doing its work. Once hidden interference leaves, your path clears itself. God says, I am now surrounding you with people who celebrate your growth instead of questioning it. You will meet souls who do not compete with your light, who do not feel threatened by your peace, who do not try to dim you to feel comfortable. These connections will feel natural. There will be no confusion, no second guessing, no heavy silence. You will recognize alignment immediately. And here is the most shocking revelation: the harm you feared never reached you. It stopped at awareness. It ended at discernment. It dissolved the moment you understood. God says, nothing formed against you carried permission. Even what felt like delay was protection. Even what felt like loss was redirection. Even what felt unfair was guarding you from greater pain. Now you are walking forward with wisdom instead of worry. Do not reopen old doors to confirm what you already know. Do not revisit spaces that weakened your spirit. Do not explain yourself to people who already revealed their distance. God says, keep moving, because your future requires a version of you that does not look back. You are stepping into a season where peace is your language, where discernment is your instinct, where confidence is quiet but unshakable. This message is not ending here. What comes next will show you how to fully step into this new level of protection and purpose. Stay present. Stay still for a moment, because this part speaks to what is happening inside you right now. God says, the battle you thought was external was always internal first. You were not being attacked from the outside. You were being tested in discernment, and you passed without even realizing it. This is why you feel different now, calmer, more aware, less reactive. You are no longer moved by subtle pressure. You are no longer shaken by silent resistance. God says, maturity has entered your spirit. Here is a once-in-a-lifetime truth. Not everyone is meant to be exposed loudly. Some people are revealed to you only, so peace can be preserved. If they had been exposed publicly, chaos would have followed. If truth had been announced, your heart would have been burdened. So I whispered it to your spirit instead. God says, quiet revelation is a form of mercy. Now you understand why I asked you to walk away gently, why I told you to stop explaining, why I pulled your attention forward instead of backward. Because the moment you disengaged, the power shifted. You may notice something unexpected now. The need to prove yourself has disappeared. The urge to be understood has faded. The desire to justify your choices has dissolved. This is strength. God says, you are no longer operating from survival, but from alignment. Your thoughts are clearer because your spirit is no longer defending itself. Your energy is stronger because it is no longer leaking. Your prayers feel deeper because they are no longer mixed with confusion. This is the hidden reward of discernment. And here is the shocking part. The person who wanted to harm you cannot follow you where you are going. Not because you blocked them. Not because you confronted them. But because they do not have the awareness to walk at this level. God says, clarity creates separation naturally. You are rising into a season where truth surrounds you effortlessly. Where deception cannot stay close. Where peace becomes your default state. Do not be surprised if some connections quietly fade away. Do not feel responsible for maintaining what no longer aligns. Do not confuse distance with loss. God says, this is elevation. Your spirit is no longer available for confusion, competition, or silent resistance. You are tuned to peace. You are aligned with purpose. And now, something beautiful begins. The next part will show you how this awareness transforms your future completely. Stay with this. Now receive this calmly. Because this is the moment everything settles into place. God says, what you survived was not meant to weaken you, but to prepare you. You were never meant to stay confused. You were never meant to stay guarded forever. You were meant to learn, then move forward. This is the final revelation. The person who wanted to harm you was never stronger than you. They were only closer than you expected. And closeness is what made the lesson powerful. You now see clearly without suspicion. You move wisely without fear. You trust yourself without doubt. This is growth that cannot be reversed. God says, from this point forward, your spirit will recognize truth instantly. You will not need signs. You will not need confirmation. You will not need reassurance from outside voices. Peace will answer before questions arise. This is the shift most people wait a lifetime for. Your heart is no longer reactive. Your mind is no longer restless. Your soul is no longer negotiating its worth. You are aligned. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime truth. Nothing like this will ever repeat in the same way. Because the lesson has been learned fully. Because discernment has been activated permanently. Because your awareness has matured. God says, I trust you with your future now. What comes next will not require defense. It will not require explanation. It will not require survival. It will require presence. New doors will open quietly. New connections will feel safe instantly. New opportunities will arrive without pressure. You will recognize them by the peace they bring. And the past will no longer call you back. Because you no longer belong to confusion. You belong to clarity. God says, walk forward without looking over your shoulder. You are protected by wisdom now. Guided by awareness. Strengthened by truth. This message ends here, but the shift continues in your life. And from this moment on, nothing hidden can stand close to you again. Remain here for this final layer, because this part seals what has already begun. God says, you are not returning to who you were before this awareness. That version of you carried doubt quietly. That version questioned intuition. That version tolerated confusion longer than necessary. This version does not. Something permanent has shifted inside you. Not loud, not dramatic, but unshakable. God says, this is discernment that cannot be undone. From now on, you will notice how quickly truth reveals itself. You will sense when energy is clean. You will feel when intentions are pure. And you will step back without guilt when something feels misaligned. You will not argue with your spirit anymore. Here is the most shocking truth of all. The harm you feared was never meant to reach your future. It was allowed only long enough to awaken you. That is why it stopped when it did. That is why clarity arrived before damage. That is why peace followed awareness. God says, timing protected you. What once tried to confuse you cannot follow you now. What once observed you cannot access you now. What once stood close cannot stand aligned. You are no longer operating from uncertainty. You are operating from inner authority. This is why your presence feels stronger. This is why your silence feels powerful. This is why your peace feels non-negotiable. God says, you are no longer available for hidden resistance. And here is what comes next. You will begin to attract situations that feel calm from the beginning. People who do not require you to explain yourself. Spaces where you can breathe fully without guarding your heart. This is not coincidence. This is alignment responding to awareness. You earn this clarity through patience, through restraint, through choosing peace over reaction. God says, I saw every moment you chose wisdom quietly. You did not lose anything valuable. You refined your path. You strengthened your spirit. You secured your future. And now, you walk forward lighter, clearer, stronger. No fear follows you. No confusion trails behind you. No hidden intention stands near you. This chapter is complete. What begins next is guided by peace, protected by discernment, and carried by quiet strength. Stay grounded in this truth. Nothing meant to harm you has permission to walk with you anymore. Stay present, because this part speaks to the future that has already started forming around you. God says, what changed inside you has already changed what is coming toward you. You may not see it yet, but your life has responded. The moment you stopped doubting your inner voice, your direction corrected itself. The moment you stopped questioning your worth, alignment accelerated. The moment you chose peace over explanation, protection activated fully. This is not imagination. This is spiritual order restoring itself. Here is a truth that rarely gets spoken. Once discernment is activated, life stops testing you the same way. Not because challenges disappear, but because confusion no longer works on you. God says, you now recognize patterns before they form. You sense when something is not meant for you early. You feel when energy is off before damage is done. You step away before exhaustion begins. This is mastery. Here is the shocking revelation connected to the title. The person who once wanted to harm you will never again hold the same position in your life. Not because they changed, but because you did. You no longer offer access to your spirit casually. You no longer open your heart without awareness. You no longer confuse familiarity with safety. God says, this wisdom will guard everything you build next. Your future relationships will feel different. They will not drain you. They will not confuse you. They will not require you to shrink or explain. Your future opportunities will feel peaceful from the start. No tension. No inner warning. No second guessing. You will know because peace will arrive first. God says, I am teaching you to trust the calm. You are stepping into a season where clarity becomes your normal, where intuition becomes instant, where protection becomes automatic. Nothing hidden can remain close to you now. Nothing misaligned can stay comfortable near you. Nothing meant to harm you can disguise itself around your awareness. This is the reward of patience. This is the result of listening. This is the power of quiet strength. Do not rush forward. Move steadily. Let your discernment lead. God says, you are no longer walking blindly. And the most powerful truth of all, what once stood near you as a lesson can no longer stand near you as a threat. Your path is clear. Your spirit is guarded. Your future is aligned. Stay grounded in this, because what unfolds next will reflect the wisdom you now carry. Stay with this closing truth, because this part locks everything into place. God says, what was revealed was not meant to haunt you, it was meant to free you. You were never meant to live guarded forever. You were meant to live aware. There is a difference. Fear keeps looking over its shoulder. Wisdom walks forward calmly. You are walking forward now. The identity of the person who wanted to harm you was never revealed so you could remember them. It was revealed so you could release them. Their chapter in your life is complete. And here is the final, shocking truth tied to this entire message. Once God removes confusion, He never allows it to return in the same form. You will never be tested like this again. Not because life stops challenging you, but because this level of discernment changes the rules. You no longer attract hidden opposition. You no longer entertain mixed intentions. You no longer doubt what your spirit clearly recognizes. God says, you are now walking with inner authority. This is why peace follows you. This is why calm stays with you even in uncertainty. This is why your decisions feel grounded instead of rushed. You are not searching for safety anymore. You are safety. And from this place, everything you build will last. Your relationships will be cleaner. Your goals will be clearer. Your future will feel lighter. No hidden motive can stay close to someone who sees clearly. No silent resistance can survive near awareness. No harm can reach someone who listens to truth early. God says, you are protected by what you now understand. Let this message settle deep, not as fear, not as suspicion, but as wisdom. Because wisdom does not make noise. It makes space. And in that space, your life begins to rise naturally. This is not an ending. This is a foundation. Carry this awareness forward. Nothing meant to harm you has permission to walk beside you again. Remain steady, because this part speaks to what God is doing right now, even if you cannot see it yet. God says, when truth is revealed, movement begins immediately. You may think everything feels quiet, but quiet does not mean still. Behind the scenes, alignment is rearranging itself around you. Paths are shifting. Timings are correcting. People are being repositioned. All because you chose awareness over denial. Here is a truth most people never realize. The moment you stop feeding confusion, clarity starts feeding you back. Your thoughts are no longer scattered. Your focus is sharper. Your spirit is no longer split between trust and doubt. God says, this inner unity is powerful. You are no longer leaking energy into places that cannot carry you forward. You are no longer explaining yourself to be accepted. You are no longer waiting for permission to protect your peace. That alone changes everything. And here is the shocking revelation connected to this moment. The person who wanted to harm you is now irrelevant to your direction. Not removed through conflict. Not erased through force, but outgrown through wisdom. God says, growth is the cleanest separation. You are stepping into a season where things make sense faster, where your intuition speaks clearly, where your decisions feel settled instead of debated. This is not coincidence. This is the reward of You may notice something else as well. The need to replay the past is fading. The emotional charge attached to certain memories is dissolving. The weight you carried without realizing it is lifting. God says, healing is happening naturally. Because once confusion leaves, healing does not struggle to enter. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming centered. You are not cold. You are clear. And clarity protects without effort. From this point forward, you will recognize when something is not meant to stay. You will feel peace when something is meant to grow. You will trust yourself without needing external reassurance. God says, I am strengthening your inner compass. What once required prayer for clarity now responds instantly to awareness. You are no longer waiting for signs. You are reading alignment. This is where your life begins to feel intentional instead of reactive. Stay grounded in this moment, because what unfolds next will reflect the wisdom you now carry. Nothing hidden can stand near clarity. Nothing harmful can remain close to awareness. And you are fully awake now. Stay with this breath, because this part completes the understanding. God says, awareness is not just protection, it is positioning. You are now standing where truth meets direction, where peace meets movement, where clarity meets purpose. This is why life feels quieter but stronger. Here is a once-in-a-lifetime revelation. When God reveals hidden intentions, He also reveals your next level. You were not shown this truth to pause your life. You were shown this truth to advance it. The person who wanted to harm you was never meant to walk into your future. They were allowed only long enough to sharpen your discernment. And now, that work is finished. God says, nothing accidental will walk with you anymore. You will notice this clearly. Your tolerance for confusion will be gone. Your patience for mixed energy will be short. Your attraction to peace will be instant. This is not isolation. This is alignment selecting for you. You will no longer need to ask, why does this feel off? You will know. You will no longer wonder, should I stay or step back? Your spirit will answer before your thoughts begin. God says, you are operating from inner authority now. This is why the future feels lighter than the past. This is why excitement replaces anxiety. This is why trust returns, not outwardly, but inwardly. You trust yourself again. And here is the final truth tied to this message. Once discernment matures, destiny accelerates. What once took effort will now flow. What once felt blocked will now open. What once felt delayed will now arrive at the right moment. Because nothing is pulling against you anymore. God says, alignment creates momentum. Do not look back to measure how far you have come. Do not look sideways to compare paths. Keep your eyes forward. Your steps are guided now. This chapter closes not with fear, not with suspicion, but with confidence. You are not guarded. You are grounded. You are not defensive. You are aware. And awareness will carry you safely into everything prepared for you. This is where peace becomes permanent. Stay focused right here. Because this part speaks to the quiet confidence growing inside you. God says, when awareness becomes natural, fear loses its voice. You are no longer scanning people for signs. You are no longer questioning every interaction. You are no longer bracing yourself for disappointment. That phase is over. Here is a powerful truth. Discernment does not make you suspicious. It makes you selective. And selection is strength. You now choose who hears your thoughts. You choose who sees your vision. You choose who walks close to your spirit. God says, this choice protects your future more than any explanation ever could. The person who once wanted to harm you taught you something priceless. Access is sacred. Not everyone deserves proximity to your heart. Not everyone deserves knowledge of your next move. Not everyone deserves to know how deeply you feel. And now you know this without bitterness. God says, wisdom without bitterness is power. You will notice how naturally you move now. No tension in your decisions. No hesitation in your boundaries. No guilt in choosing peace. This is what inner authority looks like. Here is the shocking realization. What once felt like betrayal was actually preparation. If that moment had not happened, you would have carried people into your future who were never meant to go there. God says, I removed what could not rise with you, not to hurt you, but to protect what is ahead. Now your spirit is lighter. Your focus is sharper. Your direction is clearer. You are not rushing anymore. You are moving intentionally. From this place, mistakes become rare. Confusion becomes temporary. Peace becomes constant. Says, this is the level where life responds to clarity. You are no longer asking for protection. You are walking in it. And nothing that once hid near you can find a place beside you again. Stay grounded. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Stay with this stillness. Because this part speaks to the strength you did not know you had. God says, the greatest protection is not distance from people, it is clarity within yourself. You have crossed that line now. You are no longer reacting to energy. You are no longer absorbing emotions that are not yours. You are no longer pulled into situations just because you are kind. Kindness remains, but wisdom now leads it. Here is a powerful truth. Not everyone who smiles at you is meant to stay near you, and not everyone who leaves your life is a loss. Some departures are answers. God says, I removed noise so you could hear direction. Notice how calm your decisions feel now. Notice how you no longer feel rushed to respond. Notice how silence feels natural instead of uncomfortable. This is maturity settling in. The person who once wanted to harm you no longer occupies space in your thoughts. Not because you forgot, but because the lesson finished its work. God says, when learning is complete, attachment dissolves. You are not holding anger. You are holding awareness. And awareness creates freedom. Here is the once, in a lifetime realization. You no longer need to guard your heart aggressively, because your discernment guards it effortlessly. You sense alignment early. You feel resistance before damage forms. You step back before peace is disturbed. This is not caution. This is intelligence of the spirit. God says, this is how leaders move quietly. From this place, you attract fewer people, but the right ones. You attract clarity, not chaos. Consistency, not confusion. Respect, not pressure. Your life begins to feel simpler, not smaller. And this simplicity is power. Do not underestimate what has happened inside you. You did not just survive a hidden challenge. You graduated from it. God says, what you carry now will protect you for years to come. Nothing hidden can stand near you. Nothing misaligned can stay comfortable beside you. Nothing meant to disturb you can reach your center. You are steady now. And steady is unstoppable. Remain here. The path ahead responds to this level of clarity. Pause here. Because this part speaks to the future you are quietly stepping into. God says, clarity does not rush, it stabilizes. You may notice that life no longer feels urgent in the same way. You still move forward, but without pressure. You still care deeply, but without anxiety. That is not loss of passion. That is mastery. Here is a powerful truth. When discernment matures, urgency fades, and precision takes its place. You no longer chase people. You no longer chase explanations. You no longer chase validation. God says, what is aligned comes to you calmly. The person who once wanted to harm you taught you the final lesson of closeness. Not everyone who knows your story deserves to be part of your future chapters. And now, you honor that without resentment. You speak less. You observe more. You move with intention. This is not withdrawal. This is direction. God says, silence has become your filter. You notice how quickly situations reveal themselves now, how little time it takes to sense truth, how naturally you step back when something feels off. This is awareness in action. Here is the once, in a lifetime realization: your peace is no longer fragile. It does not depend on behavior. It does not depend on reassurance. It does not depend on being understood. It comes from within. God says, you are no longer shaped by what others carry. And because of this, your future will be different. You will choose relationships that feel steady, not intense. You will choose paths that feel clear, not dramatic. You will choose growth that feels natural, not forced. This is how lasting progress begins. Do not underestimate the power of what has changed. You are now someone who sees early, chooses wisely, and moves forward quietly. God says, this wisdom will open doors without noise. Nothing hidden can confuse you now. Nothing subtle can disturb your direction. Nothing meant to harm you can walk beside you again. You are not just protected. You are prepared. Remain grounded in this truth. Everything ahead responds to this level of awareness.